Hey everybody, welcome back. It's the Dusty DM, and hey, managed to do a couple of videos in a row again. Slowly getting back on schedule, and hopes and dreams and things, all the things. So, last week was a video all about sculpting. I'm gonna look with a very weird eye and try to remember. Yeah, we talked about sculpting last week and mold cast and molding and casting. It's real fun. You should try it. If you have decided to dig into it, let me know in the comments. I would love to hear what you guys end up doing with all that kind of fun stuff. Today we're gonna work on gameplay and creation. This idea has been in my head for about a week now, where I'm not worried about what platform you play. I might play a weird, almost chainmail-esque version of 5e. I might play D&D, but I want to focus more on gameplay mechanics that are non-system based. Not even I don't even want to say mechanics. I want to say something. There's a word I'm looking for. Gameplay. I don't know. Core ideas that fit any playstyle, that fit any kind of game, sci-fi, doesn't matter. It's all about game mastery and maybe a little bit of realizing that all games are stories. When it comes to role-playing games, all games are stories. Doesn't matter what dice you're throwing, it doesn't matter even if you throw dice, if you're pulling cards out of a pile, if you're making it up as you go, if you're making the mechanics of gameplay up as you go, it doesn't matter. You're writing a story. There's no competition. There is no sense of completion. There's no sense of A to B. There is simply sitting down with some friends, writing a story. It's something that gets overlooked a lot. There are a few great channels on here that really focus on the idea of D&D being, or role-playing games being, a story building method, being a story building activity. So today we're going to start thinking about weird things like thinking in threes. This is why I'm never going to get ad revenue. Nobody shows Philip Morris commercials anymore. There's no one calling that phone for that small sprite that lives in the office. God, I'm old. Either case, so thinking in threes. What I mean is thinking in story structure when it comes to creation. Every book that you've read, doesn't matter what title, every movie that you've seen, apart from The Force Awakens, follows a 3-act structure. There is the first act, which is the info dump. It's the only way I'm going to put it, because I had another thought in my head and it's not working out right this second. The first act is the build. The first act is where the information comes from. We're on Tatooine, and Luke's a milk farmer, and then there's some Jawas, and he buys some droids. Some stuff happens. It's an okay thing. And then we hit Act 2. Act 2 is the hook. It's the crossing of the threshold. Not just climax. It's adding and then resolving. So we're setting some hooks in the first act, we're resolving a few in the second act, and then we're building another few for the third. In an adventure style of writing, that's what we're aiming for. We're not looking for beginning, climax, ending. We're not looking for the resolution. We're not looking to find complete, clear resolution in the game. We're looking for using the second act to follow the first, to follow up some hooks of the first, and then to plant more. So that when the third act comes, something major can be resolved, and then something else can happen. We need to leave the open aspect of gameplay, unless we're, of course, talking about one-shots. But for tonight, we're not. Campaign building, game building in three acts. It's a very easy thing to believe that you have a grasp of, good hard grasp of. But to actually put it in practice is something that takes a little extra effort. It takes a little extra effort, but when it becomes something that you've really, really hemmed in, you have it almost streamlined, you can take that 3-act thinking and throw it into a railroad game. You have a plot, your players know you have a plot, they have a story that they want to follow. You're following along with your players as much as they're following along with you. You're not forcing them, but they know that there's a clear ending resolution. Take the Hit Dice podcast. Lovely show. They did, I think, close to 70 episodes, and there was a clear resolution for the story that they were working on. Listen to it. Wes's DM style is good, very good, and yeah, there might be some behind the scenes stuff, but it's a wildly entertaining show that is great to learn from. Nobody feels forced, but they do know that there is an endpoint. So whatever choices the players make, it's not super forced railroad. We're not looking for that. But 3-act thinking fits right into a sandbox. You can take a little, if you're already considering life in 3 acts, if you're already considering your writing style in 3 acts for your DM prep, doesn't matter what choice your players make. Not at all. They're going to roam off into the wilderness. Think of 3 things that they're going to need to do. Think of 1 thing that they're going to need to do. Break it into 3 parts. There you go. You can do it on a random roll table. Nice and easy. So, although it's going to sound a little hairy, let's go through an example, because those seem to work best. So, here's a board. It's a Guy Debord. We're thinking in 3 acts. We're thinking when, where, why. Or who, why, and when. You're right, I can't read my handwriting either. You're right. So, just something that I was thinking about earlier this week, for an example, was after a short amount of travel, the players have come to the town of Colville. This small town is on a King's Road, on a Queen's Road. It's on a main thoroughfare. It's a travel town. It's unwalled, just an open trade area, like a town that's built on trade. Simple. Don't need a map. Don't need to do much other than thinking about there's a road. Here's a circle. This circle is Colville. We don't need 1,000 details for this. The first part of this is the The aggressive notion in this example is that the bailiff of Colville, bailiff being the man who runs the town in the king's absence, he's just it's another way to say sheriff, it's another way to say anything. I don't care, I just wanted to feel cool, so I looked up an old English glossary and used the term bailiff. Makes me look cool, I guess. So the bailiff has gone from being an exceptionally jovial, easy to deal with ruler, whatever, man in charge, to being a real dick in the past couple of cycles, months, weeks, whatever you want to call it, whatever it is in your game. We'll say months. Over the last few months, he has taken on a very dark attitude towards things. That is the hook. That is the big first act hook. How do you communicate that with players? Well, let's go sandbox style and let's throw out 3 ways to give that to your players. That information is the one thing that needs to be given out. That, man, the bailiff's been a real dick lately. We're not sure why. The barmaid could absolutely give it out as a rumor. Conversation with anyone in the tavern, if the players are players that first thing they do when they get to a town is run to the tavern because that's where rumors live. That's where information exists. Right there in a tavern. Tavern goer says, in conversation, or comes through or the players over here, a table of gentlemen, and one of them's saying, oh, can you believe this horse shit? I got a fine because my bushes aren't far enough away from my door. Or I'm getting an extra tax because I get too much sunlight through all my windows. That manner. Or, second example of how that could come about is the town job board. If you happen to be in a group that likes to play the random table game and hit the town post board thing with all there's a terrifying monster in the cavern that need, ransom, or not ransoms, bounties, the bounty board. On the bounty board, there's a decree, much like the sixth book of Harry Potter, where all of a sudden there are new rules, and the rules are extremely stringent, and they're just being posted on the wall. Yeah. Then on the bounty board, there could be a decree. The bailiff says that all of those that are not, all of the townsfolk who are found to be in violation of not having clean bathwater on Sunday will be fined an extra X gold pieces. If your animal brays, if the braying of the animals reaches the windows of the bailiff's manse, you'll be exorcised from town for a time period of no shorter than 3 weeks. Something excessive, something that is out of place on purpose. The other way, this example is the one that I want to fly with because I like it so much. The other way is this, that player group comes to town, they always split up, and the rogue, the wizard, whomever it is, one of the players is always the one that goes magic grocery shopping or goes supply shopping. They're the ones that are in charge of running the general store and picking up adventure packs, everything that everybody needs for the next couple of days out in the wilderness because we're sandboxing. While they're a common item, say standard rations. A week's worth of rations often runs 5 to 7 gold pieces in most game systems. So it's a reasonable number. Well, this player in that time has come and found that a week's rations at the general store in Colville is 65 gold pieces. Just an exorbitant, blown out number that doesn't make that's offensive even on paper. Just pure legitimate highway robbery. Just an almost obvious setup. And in that time, of course, well, hey, why are your prices so high on the rations? We're short. Hey, I need like 3 weeks worth of rations. We're planning on going up in the mountains. Oh, it's gonna be 195 gold pieces. No, that's too much. And in that moment, in the not even bartering stage of the conversation, the shopkeep turns his nose up to the player and yells for the guards. Just pure overreaction. With this real snide attitude sort of feeling to him. Befuddling the player. Hey, we're not even arguing. We're not even bartering at this moment. Why are you calling for the town guard? Well, the town guard comes, and here's the important thing. The important thing is that the town guard follows through with taking that player to go stand in front of the bailiff and explain what happened. And whether the player is combative, verbally combative, whether the player is stoic and just says, all right, let's go do this, whatever it takes, they're going to have to go stand in front of the bailiff. And the guards are speaking by the book. You can tell you got to make it so that something feels a little off about the way that they're reprimanding the player, where they're simply following through on a job, but maybe not party to the same kind of negative force that's coming from the bailiff. Well, how do you do that? Well, the guard says, look, you're causing a scene, you're disturbing the peace, you're going to have to come stand in front of the bailiff. What do you mean? And the player says, what do you mean? I'm not doing anything. I'm just asking why the prices are so high. Look, the guard says, look, talk to the bailiff about it. We can't do anything. It's too late. We have to go do this. Let's go do this. No winks, no nudges, no secret notes passed in the walk to the bailiff's manse. No need for that. Just setting the atmosphere of, we're just following through because we have to. Let's do this. That's the first act. That's it. You've hooked the players in any of those manners, and they're going to end up either willingly investigating, or being forced to find out what's going on. So the second part of this thought is the second part of the example is the backstory. It's the real problem. It's the actual problem, not just that the bailiff's on power trip. That's way too simple. Because RPGs are not simple things. Not when you really consider it. But they're easy. When the players end up at the bailiff's manse, when they end up at whatever it is they do, they have this run-in. We're gonna continue with the player character that was hauled in to stand in front of the bailiff. Same day, you're in chains. Let's fucking go. Let's do this. The end. All right. They're standing in front of the bailiff. And the bailiff has this real, just dark atmosphere. Just real dark. Think of, oh God, the dude that had Wormtongue whispering in his ear. Which character was that?
Theoden?
Yeah, Theoden. Yeah, when it was all dark and shit. And he had like Wormtongue like whispering bullshit. But like he had that weird just to him. That kind of thing where the bailiff is gleefully ignoring the player's pleas. I didn't do anything. All I did was ask why the price was so high. And what the player is going, what pertinent information needs to be given in the second act is that the bailiff has a partial relic of, what the hell was it? That's right. The partial relic of Fangbreaker, a chaos god that I just made up looking at my minis over on the shelf. Made it up twice because I forgot it the first time. So he has a partial. He has this part of a medallion of Fangbreaker of any god. It doesn't matter. These are just ports. That is influencing him negatively. It was picked up somewhere, somehow, maybe in a tax payment, just for the sake of doing it. This god Fangbreaker is chaotic neutral, which means he just likes to see weird shit happen. Because why not? But the negative influence, the jovial attitude of the bailiff being turned into this power-hungry monster is from this half a medallion. The player is standing in front of the bailiff, and he notices it. Doesn't need a perception roll. Doesn't need any part of that. Just notices it. It's a very odd necklace. It's just hanging there. It's next to the bailiff's chair because he wouldn't have a throne. Not everybody needs a throne. And not everybody wants to rule the world. But in either case, he notices it. The player is going to notice this. And if they have if they have detect magic, they're going to detect it and find out that it's a cursed item. It's hanging, it's influencing the bailiff negatively. And that's the major piece of information for the second act, but it doesn't matter how you get there. It's just the second part of the puzzle. The third part of the puzzle. Now this is where it gets a little wonky because even with my planning, it's a little difficult to resolve this just because I followed through with that example of the player being drugged in front of the bailiff. The other way to get them to get the second act information would be to a local thief, a local well-known thief. After they get the information at the tavern, a thief that is very locally famous says, "Hey, he's got we got to get back at this bailiff. He's been stealing taxes from everybody. Really need to get in there and fuck him because we need to take everything from him. He's been, people are going hungry. Farmers are having all their crops taken, anything of the like." So that's how the players get to the bailiff's manse in that scenario. We could do it we could do it in the second example as well. There's other ways to get them there. But the biggest thing is to get them to the manse. You can do it any way that you'd like. The example was the easiest way that I could find to get them there. You can split the party. split the party up so that the entire point of everything is to go get their argumentative rogue back. That's dope. It's always fun. They have to go rescue their rogue from the Bailiff's manse because he went out to go get supplies and suddenly he's been missing for half a day and nobody can find him. And they're told by the guards, oh yeah, we picked him up. He's over at the Bailiff's manse. So now they have to go get him. They get to the manse and then they find out the same information. It's up to you. The resolution to all of this is to not kill the bailiff. It's to not go in and cause havoc. The resolution to the third act is to indicate to the bailiff that he has this cursed item, or to steal this cursed item, or, if you want to, let all hell break loose and kill the fucking bailiff. Go ahead. That's how it goes too. But how the third act in the example would work out is that the rogue is taken down to the basement cell. He's held in contempt, in whatever. He's imprisoned. If you want to give the rogue if you want to give the rogue a little time to shine, he's got a mission to get out. It's not in 5th edition. Skill challenges. A couple of skill challenges to get him out of the basement. He already, as a split party member, he already figured out that icon is what's causing the issue. All logic would point to him stealing the necklace and taking it out, finding a way out. If that's not the way it goes, then the party gets to then in the third act, the party gets to the bailiff's manse and upon arrival are threatened with removal from town immediately for even trying to come and bargain to get him back. And that instigates them trying to infiltrate. That's a fun mission too. But after they infiltrate, then the rogue would pass on the information that, hey, he's got a fucking cursed item in this building. The cleric would know. In either case, they would know that there's a cursed item in this building, and that's what's causing all these issues in Colville. So you find the way. The whole point is not to nitpick and wonder about all the ways first. Just figure out what your big thought is and then break it into 3 and work from there. Because one needs to lead into the other, and there's always going to be 1,000 ways that it does, but the best way to DM whatever your major thing is, whatever a single game night, a full campaign, whatever the thought is that you want to express, find a way to break it into 3 and work with each individual part. This is a simple thing. I'm stuck on political and spy style games in D&D lately. I don't know why, but they've been on my mind. So my whole thing is, I really like it when it's a super duper tense, just overt, like a covert mission to go and, investigate where all the fucking dragon oil went. I like that kind of stuff because then it all comes down to dice rolls and working around dice rolls, which makes it complex. That's fun for me. It might not be for you. It could be, the players are in town now. They've found out this information about the bailiff, and being the amazing kick-ass Van Dams that they are, they're going to go break in some doors and kill everybody until they die themselves. That's fun too, sometimes. But the entire point is to break a single thought down into 3 and don't prep from there. Once you have the 3, once you know where you need to go, let everything else fill in for you. That's a good way to DM. Not picking out these big, we've got these big 3s. This is how it should happen, and then we take each of those 3s and we're making a 100-item list of how all of these 3 acts are going to go. Why? It's not going to happen that way, for one thing. And nitpicking on the details, wondering whether or not, well, is this, what is the exact ratio of currency that I need to ensure that my players are going to have the believability? Don't. You're killing yourself over simple details. Get your structure broken down into 3 and think in 3, and from there let everything else go as it is. Your game will never feel like a railroad if you do that. Sometimes it might have to, like when a tower just pops up out of a lake or some shit. And the boat sank and we have no idea what to do. Sometimes it's gonna feel a little bit railroady. But it happens. It's not gonna happen every time. It's just something to shoot for and aim for. Learning a style with writing. The honest truth is, Dungeon Masters are just writers who have to work with a very, very malleable, breathing, living topic. The context is never going to be there until it's too late. And there you go. That's the gameplay video. I couldn't find my car keys, so the actual notes that I had for this episode are stuck out in my car, and I'm just winging it. But that's how it goes sometimes. I hope that helps. If you need any, let me know in the comments below. If you need anything else pushed out a little further, anything fleshed out a little better. I do have a full map of the Bailiff's Manse drawn out, I think. Maybe not a full map. Maybe I was close. But I was thinking about doing a 1-page adventure of this just to really, really solidify what's going on and really make sure that the example has a lot of meat to it instead of just listening to a lunatic talk for a little bit. So that should be up sometime. See you guys.